Welcome once again to this great jazz occasion. And it is now time to get down with some of the living legends of this business. Kansas City is noted for, among other things, its barbecue. They really think that they can compete with Chicago in creating great barbecue. There is something that it is even greater fame for, and that is some of the marvelous musicians that have come out of Kansas City and made just monumental contributions to American music, and more specifically to jazz. And you will find them right here on this stage right now, playing under the banner of Mr. J. McShann.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That was Yardbird Suite. Incidentally, that was a number that Yardbird wrote himself, ladies and gentlemen. And now this time we'd like to feature another great gentleman that came to the band just about the same time Yardbird came to the band. It's Mr. Al Hibbler. Give you his version. Oh, wonderful. Oh, you guys. The number's titled, Get Me On Your Mind.
Just from crying for you, never, ever have me on your mind. Dreaming, scheming, just to have him hold you. Trouble, trouble, that's all I find. I'm so blue from crying for you. Nothing I can do to lose you. I'm such a fool about you. That is why I stay in my solitude, sighing. Why be so unkind? Please, dear, please, dear, get me on your mind. Nothing I can do to lose you. I'm such a fool about you. That is why I stay in my solitude, sighing. take me on your
Hibbler, take him out. Oh, well down. Look at that. Oh, yeah. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, yeah. Thank you. And now this time, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to feature our fiddle player, Claude Williams, smooth sailing, smooth sailing. Thank you, thank you. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. And now this time we have a number coming up that we recorded back in the early days that features our great bass man, Mr. Gene Ramey. And the number's titled Street Boogie, featuring Gene Ramey. And now this time we'd like to feature a legend, a great legend, as you all know. It's none other than the great Bud Johnson saying, Body and Soul. Johnson. Body and soul. Think about Bud. Bud Johnson, body and soul. For you, with my heart in my hand, I want you to read it, mama, hoping that you'll understand. Well, baby, mama, please don't dog me round. Lord, I'd rather love you, pretty baby, more than anyone else in town. Because you're so nice and loving, and you have such pleasing ways. Take me to your home, be there, be rest of my days. That's true, mama. Well, you know I wouldn't lie. Oh, if I don't love you, baby, well, I swear I hope to die. Well, baby, understand. Now when my days are long and dreary and the sun refused to shine, I'd never be blue and lonely if I knew that you were mine. Well, baby, won't you make everything alright? Now will it be today, baby? Or will it be tomorrow night? confession, mama, and I'm thrilled by all your charms. You know that I'm in heaven when you hold me in your arms. Well, baby, hey, can I have you for myself? You are a man for me, mama. I don't want nobody else. Well, I sure don't. Well, I sure don't want nobody else. Well, I sure don't want nobody else. Okay. Gus Johnson, take a bow. Bang, bang.
Yes, take a bow.
Let's hear it for Mr. Gus Johnson on drums. Ramey on bass. Mr. Claude Williams on violin. Bud Johnson and McShann, truly living legend.
Taylor, how are you?
I'm very well. When did you come in to Chicago?
I got in on the red eye.
Came right in and ready to play. One of the things that I want to ask you quickly, what are your remembrances of the early days with Dizzy Gillespie when you were coming right out of the Oscar Pettiford kind of fold and developing your own style?
Well, even prior to the Oscar Pettiford thing, it was the Jimmy Blanton thing.
I know.
And as a matter of fact, I was working with Dizzy on 52nd Street, famous door, the first time I saw Pettiford. I had met Oscar's sister, Leah, in Pittsburgh, because she was there playing piano when I was a kid. Matter of fact, the first time I ever saw chords, she had this little book that she used to sit up on the piano. And then they'd call a tune, and she'd leaf through this little book and start playing it. I said to her one night, I said, "What is that?" She said, "Well, those are chords to the songs, you know." And she sat down and explained them to me, you know.
Oh, that's good.
And she said, "I got a little brother who plays the bass." I like that line. She said, "I got a little brother that plays the bass." She said, "You ought to meet him sometime." She said, "He plays pretty good." She said, "But I couldn't get him to study either, you know." Like she was saying, neither one of you guys know chords, you know. But and then I met Oscar because he was with Ellington at the time, and that's when I first met him.
Mm-hmm.
He came in one night while I was working with Dizzy. Scared me to death.
Yeah, he was a monster.
Oh, boy.
But you've scared your enough guys yourself.
Well, everybody gets their turn in the barrel. You know?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's for sure. You know, one of my all-time favorite records of yours is one that you made with Oscar Peterson at the Stratford Festival in Canada.
Yeah.
And I've always teased Oscar about that record because that's the Ray Brown trio with Oscar Peterson.
Well, I tell you what happened. We just got lucky because we had followed the Modern Jazz Quartet on that gig, and John Lewis had stayed over. And John Lewis went in the booth with the guys that were mixing.
Oh, yeah. And so
to
he
make
really
sure that they got a good sound. You know?
Oh, that's fantastic.
And that was a stroke of luck, you know, that he was in there because...
Sure brought out the best in the trio.
Oh, man. You know, it's one of our better records, you know.
Absolutely.
I mean, you could hear everybody breathing, everybody's footwork, everything, you know. But that's what music is, you know.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, you can't have music so clean that you don't hear what accompanies it, you know.
That's right. Absolutely. It's all an integral part.
You know,
it
I
works
said,
together.
I can hear you breathing. I said, well, if you ever can hear me breathing, I'm in trouble, you know. Let's get a little bit of that, because it helps, you know.
It sure does. Well, Ray, tell me, what about your remembrances of Charlie Parker when you worked with him, and just remembering him?
Well, I have a lot of good remembrances of Bird. You know, the very first thing I remember of Bird was much before I met him. Two things. When I was in high school, my older brother, came home with a record one day, and he said, "I want you to hear this guy singing the blues." And it was a McShann record with Walter Brown.
Right.
You know? And so he put this record on and it started playing, and before Walter Brown started singing, a saxophone player played two courses of blues. I said, "Wait a minute." I said, "Play that again. Let me hear the saxophone player again." You know? And that was Bird, you know? And then we used to have those street dances in those days. This is something that we were talking about, you know, like the Jazzmobile.
Right.
Well, they had street dances where they blocked off a whole block.
Whole block, yeah.
And they put up a bandstand, and then they would bring in bands to play. Well, McShann's band used to do a lot of those. And Bird came in and played on one of those with McShann band in Pittsburgh. You know.
Oh, that's fine.
And I'm talking about 1938.
Really? That early?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's fine.
So then when I met Bird was at a rehearsal at Dizzy's house. When I first
what were you
got to
rehearsing?
New York.
What kind of Dizzy's music or what?
Well, this was the first night Dizzy offered me a job and told me to be at his house at rehearsal the next night. And I just got there, and there were four guys there. I didn't know any of them. It was Bird, Dizzy, Max, and Bud.
4 guys, right?
Yeah,
okay.
I told guys, I said, if I knew who they were before I got there, I wouldn't have showed up. And Bird was a fascinating man, you know. And the two things about Dizzy and Bird, which makes it interesting. If I wanted to find out something musically from Bird, he would pick up his horn and say, "Oh, so, you know."
Right.
And then he'd leave, you know. Well, and then if I wanted to get it from Dizzy, he wouldn't pick up his horn. He'd go to the piano and say, "Now, so," you know. But
That's
I mean,
right.
you know, you got to ask questions. That's how
sure.
we all learn, you know.
Well, you wrote a lot of tunes in Ray's Idea and a lot of things that were in the vernacular in those days. When did you start composing that kind of music?
I started writing after I joined Dizzy. You know, I had done some arranging in Snookum Russell's band, but I didn't do any original songs, you know.
Tell me about Snookum Russell's band. Who was in that band? This was before Dizzy.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Well, there were people like, prior to me getting in that band, there were arrangements there by J.J. Johnson when I got there. And they had just had a trumpet player had just left when I got there, Fats Navarro.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So that was really a band.
Oh, yeah. He had some good guys come through that band. The Turntine Brothers played with Snookum.
Was this a Pittsburgh band?
No. Snookum Russell's out of New Orleans. But all the bands in those days, Tiny Bradshaw and Nat Tolles, all these bands
played the theaters.
But they came to Indianapolis when they were off, and whoever had a tour would pick up the musicians and leave, you know. So when you're out of work, you go to Indianapolis, and the next tour that came up, you got a job. You know?
Great. Yeah. Well, in playing in big bands in those days, that gave you a different kind of experience from playing with Dizzy and the rehearsal you were talking about with Bud and Max.
Right.
What was the difference?
Well, the big band playing teaches you how to play with somebody. You know, you get in a small group, a lot of times you're on your own, you know. There could be times when you're playing a solo alone. There could be times when you're playing with just a rhythm section. But big band playing teaches you how to play with people, you know, how to play behind a saxophone section, how to play behind a full band, how to shade, you know, and this is a necessary part of music. You know?
Well, you have something that I've always enjoyed, especially in your own groups, and most of us refer to it as shifting gears. And I mean, you start off and it's like you're in first, and then you really start gearing up, and by the time you really get into drive, I mean, it's really driving. And that's something that a lot of young players have not focused on to the extent that I'd like to see.
Well, yeah, I try to get a lot of young players not to start off in drive.
Right.
That's all. You know, I mean, they got all the facilities, but you just have to, as the guy says, you got to learn what notes not to play.
Right.
Yeah,
that's
you know.
for sure.
Yeah.
But in terms of the bass as an instrument, how do you see the bass? Where do you see the acoustic bass going now?
Well, you know, the acoustic bass has had a lot of competition from the electric bass, mostly due to the fact that they're so hard to move around, and a guy can put electric bass in a case, and they don't care whether it falls off the airplane or not, because, you know, it's not going to hurt it. So it's easy to carry, and it's a lot of bass players who play string bass have lost jobs or have had to change just due to the fact of not being able to put them on airplanes, or guys don't want to be bothered paying all that overweight and stuff, you know. And but it seems to be making its way back now.
Well, you certainly are being very helpful in that regard. I mean,
well, I've never left, so I intend to be here.
Good. Well, you actually on the Merv Griffin show and some of the other things, you have played electric bass.
Yeah, I play a little electric bass, but whenever there's any solo spots, I play the string bass.
Right,
you know,
right.
So,
well, what do you think, I mean, in your recording and things, since you have to do that, what do you think about it as another instrument, as a double, or how do you think of it?
What, the electric bass?
The electric bass.
It has its place, you know. But, you know, I think I don't think it'll ever replace the string bass in jazz, because it doesn't have the feel, you know.
Right. Some of the rhythmic aspects are lost.
Oh, yeah, you know. It just doesn't feel right, you know.
Well, you know, it's exciting to me. I remember we played together at the Monterey Jazz Festival and on a couple of other occasions, and there is a totally different kind of feeling when one plays with Ray Brown as opposed to any other bass player. I mean, it's a very unique time center that you have, and for me, it's very easy to lock into. I get a very good feeling simply because of your rhythmic security. Was there anything that kind of settled that in your mind in terms of how you wanted to rhythmically approach jazz?
Well, I think I got that from copying Jimmy Blanton, you know. Because as great as the Ellington Band was, I think the one thing that everybody in that band had that made that such a great band, I mean, I've told this story many times. I've heard the Ellington Band on stage in the Paramount Theater. Sonny Greer was playing drums, and he was mad at Duke, so he said, I'm not going to play. He sat there during the show, but he didn't play. He just took a stick and beat on his little seat he was playing on a little bit. And the band swung like it was terrible, you know. I mean, when I say terrible, I'm talking about terrible good, you know.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, you didn't even miss the drums, you know. So the fact is that everybody in that band had a time feel of their own. Hodges, Webster, I mean, all these guys, just put them with their own instrument by themselves, let them play, and you could say, oh,
yeah,
it's right there, you know.
Yeah.
So when you put all these guys together, it didn't make any difference whether with drums or not, you know. So that's what I think I got from Blanton was, even though that band was great, I could feel his power. I mean, he had a time center, you know, and if the guys wanted to lean on that, they could if they didn't have to. If he wasn't there, they had their own time. But, you know, his time was so powerful that I think this is what I got from him more than anything else, was that feel he had of propelling that time, you know. And, you know, that's the essence of music to me, is what it feels like, you know. And I don't care if you're talking about disco music or classical music, you know, it has some kind of feeling to it, you know. And this is the feeling that I got out of, I think, you know, just directly from Jimmy Blanton. That propelling thing that he had.
When did you first hear Blanton?
On records.
Did you ever hear that thing, Plucked Again?
Oh, I heard it. You kidding?
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I think one of the biggest moments of my life was I made the last album with Ellington before he died.
Yes,
you know, just the two of us. And, you know, and that was a really high point in my life. You know?
How did you feel about playing with Duke?
Well, you know, I mean,
not, you know, it's just not an idle question. What did you feel like as you played with him? Is what I should.
Well, it's just, it's something that had built up in me for 40 years, I guess, you know. And when I was a kid, I always wanted to go in that band and play, but you can't repeat anything, you know. Once Blanton left, anybody else that went in there and did that over again, you know, it's not the same thing, you know. And I realized that after I got up, you know. It's like guys say to me, man, I sure would like to play with Oscar Peterson and do all that stuff you guys do. I said, it's not the same thing. You got to do something fresh.
Right, absolutely.
You know, I told bass players, I said, you got to find a piano player like Oscar Peterson and make your own thing.
Right.
I said, then it will be fresh. You know, I said, you can't do it over again. It never works when you do it over again.
No, you can't recapture that.
No,
that's for sure.
But two exciting things happened to me doing that album. We did a few things that he and Blanton had done, and I was surprised that he remembered them, because he did those things in 39 and 40.
Right,
you know,
right.
And he hasn't done them in years.
Sure.
And then he took one whole side, and just said, I said, what are you going to play? He said, I'll play something and you follow me. And, I mean, he didn't even say a key or anything. He just hit the piano.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful, you know.
Yeah. Well, he was, you know, he was just so remarkable.
I don't have to explain him to you.
No, he was just so remarkable, and the thing that I loved about him was his interest in and his respect for the bass as an instrument. And I mean, because his band was the first band I ever heard, and I really heard the top and the bottom. I heard the first trumpet player, and I heard what the bass player was doing, and everything sort of made sense in between.
He recorded the bass better in 1939 than they record it right now.
That's true. That's true. Absolutely.
You listen to his records, you can hear the bass just as clean.
Right.
You know.
And it puts everything in perspective.
I'm constantly telling engineers this, you know. I said, it didn't have but one microphone.
That's right. But listen, I want to talk a little more about Ray Brown. Do you get to Chicago often these days? Because the last time I heard about you being here, I think you came through and played with some Chicago musicians.
That's right.
And boy, that was some kind of session, as I remember.
Well, I tell you, this was something I had to experiment with. You know, Billy, I've been doing some management and booking and different things like that. And I had a guy, one of my clients told me, he said, going out on the road as a single can be difficult sometimes. You got to pick up side men.
Yeah.
They don't know what you're doing, and some of them can't read. There's a lot of problems, you know. And I said, oh, yeah. You know how you take it.
You're right.
And so one day I was just sitting around thinking about this. I said, I think I'll go out and book myself as a single so I'll know what I'm talking about when somebody says that to me. Because, it's nothing like first-hand experience.
Absolutely.
But so I went out and did it in about 3 cities. But I had a lovely time here because I got some good side men.
Oh, some great guys here in Chicago. Sure.
So I had a good time here.
Well, who did you use when you were here?
I used Wilbur Campbell. And
he was dynamite tonight.
Oh, yeah. And I used the piano player from Milwaukee, Frank Pozzello.
Oh, yeah.
You know Frank.
Right,
yeah.
sure.
And and the trumpet player here.
Art Hoyle?
Art Hoyle.
Right.
Yeah. And we had a great time.
Oh,
you know, we really had a good time.
Well, we carried a couple of things that you did on Jazz Alive, and we got such a fantastic reaction to it. A lot of people who had heard you in different sets of circumstances with Monty Alexander, with Milt, and with other guys were really delighted to hear this side of what Ray Brown did. It was a very exciting show. And I talked to some people who had come to hear you and said, well, yeah, the show was nice, but you should have heard those guys on some of those other nights.
Well, I don't know. We always say I'd like to have been recorded in the dressing room many a night.
Really?
While I was warming up.
Sure.
You should have heard me in the dressing room.
Well, Ray, I know that you have some very interesting plans. You want to talk? I don't know if you want to talk about them on the satellite at this moment, but we are broadcasting to over 200 stations, and this is going out live. And there are a lot of people who are interested in your other activities as well as what you do on the bass. So,
well, I don't have a lot to say at this time. Let me say this, Billy. I'm working on some very definitive things in the television area, and as soon as I get it in a working condition, you'll hear from me.
Terrific, because we're going to be looking forward to it. You're doing some things with the orchestra out in California.
Oh, yes,
Tell me a little about that.
Well, the orchestra is from between 90 and 100 people who work in the studios.
Right.
And it's more a volunteer thing. It's a labor of love, you know. And they're taking. Matter of fact, a good friend of ours is coming out. Is writing a piece for the orchestra, John Lewis.
No kidding.
For this season,
Oh, that's great.
And so they're getting all the good composers to write works for them, and they also have guest artists come in. I think maybe you should come out and appear.
I'd love to.
And
I'd love to. Yeah,
also, I want something just to deviate for a minute. You ought to see about getting Jazzmobile out on the other end of this country.
We're going to try to do that, too.
We'll try to give you some support when you come that way.
I'd appreciate
that's something that they could use out there.
Thank you.
I think that, and this is not for musicians. I mean the people, get the music to the people.
That's what it's about.
Right.
That's what it's about. Well, one of the most exciting things for us is when someone can come up to a Ray Brown or Monty Alexander or Milt Jackson or Dizzy Gillespie and be as close to that artist as I am to you right now and be able to say some of the things. Number one, there's several aspects of what one says to an artist, like that someone just wants to express to you the joy you have given him or her over the years and how great that is. Then another guy has been just pondering, is, well, man, how do you make those double stops, and how do you do? And he really wants a master class right on the street, But the thing that has really pleased me over the years is the fact that so many musicians like Dizzy and you have been really generous with sharing your experience and your expertise. Do you do many master classes these days?
On and off, when you have the time.
In traveling around the city, the world actually, have you run into bass players specifically who are doing things that you think are significant in terms of moving the music from one place to another place now? Any come to mind immediately?
Well, I think in a teaching area, this has been very significant. Because when I think back of when we were young, you couldn't find a Billy Taylor to come in, a college or a high school or any place and do a master class. I mean, it just wasn't available, you know. Now you can go see Dizzy Gillespie in a college doing a master class, you know.
Right.
And I mean, this was never available. You know, I sit and look at, sometimes you have a class full of kids and they're looking a little lackadaisical. I said, if I could have had a chance to go see Jimmy Blanton,
right,
you know, I would have, you know, chewed on one of his socks if I could have gotten close to him, you know.
Sure.
And
it's a marvelous opportunity.
Yeah, we're so close to it now, and we don't appreciate it, you know.
Take it for granted.
That's right.
I should explain some of the noises we're hearing in the background. We hear feedback and stuff like that.
Yes.
Like that.
And it's called show business in the back.
That's right. What's happening is that we're setting up for the Dizzy Gillespie, Ray Brown, Max Roach, Walter Bishop Jr., Cecil Payne set, and it's going to be an exciting thing, and Ray's going to have to go shortly, but they've got a whole lot of microphones to set up and a whole bunch of other things, so we're going to make sure that he gets back in time to warm up the bass and get ready.
Go shake hands with
shake hands with the bass and everything. But Ray, I really appreciate your taking the time just before you go on the set to talk with us. One thing I would like for you to share with our audience, the fact that you have played personally in so many different styles of music. What kind of preparation is good, or do you recommend for someone who aspires to do the kinds of things that you do? Is there any preparation?
Well, two things I always say to young people. I said, learn your instrument. Mm-hmm. And leave your mind open.
Yeah.
You know,
that's
and the rest
good
follows.
Advice.
Yeah,
that's good advice.
That's right.
In terms of just for our audience, would you run past some of the things that are important, like the Merv Griffin Show, but the types of things, movies, and the different kinds of things that you're into as a single professional musician?
Yeah, I play in the orchestra, which is a symphony orchestra essentially.
Right.
I play television, I play movies, commercials, and a lot of recordings. You know, everything from Sinatra down to, well, we did Oscar Peterson and Bobby Durham and myself at the rhythm section with Freddie Hubbard, Dizzy, and Clark Terry. I mean, it's just a whole lot of different things.
Yeah, well, that's good. You know. Well, the point I was trying to make is that out of a jazz background, you have been able to go into just about every area of music, and I think that you're one of the, I just like to say this on the air, you're one of the people that we hold up as a role model to some of the young people who aspire to be jazz musicians and say, well, hey, I'm just going to do my own thing, and I'm going to get over, and it's going to be, I'll be a star. And that's certainly possible, and some people do that.
That's right.
But there's another side of it, too. That's equally important, I think.
Oh yeah, there's got to be two sides to all of that, you know. And I'm not forced to do movies, and I'm not forced to do television.
Right.
But you don't enjoy anything 100%,
right.
You know.
Yeah.
And by the same token, nothing is a drag 100% all the time, you know. So they all have high points. And I think it's very interesting for you to do a variety of things.
Absolutely,
you know?
It makes you grow.
Yeah.
Ray, I see they're kind of signaling you here, and you're going to have to run over and get your bass all organized and everything.
Okay.
And I'll see
Billy,
you later.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much, Ray Brown.
Okay.